All right, perfect. Well, thank you all. I appreciate you coming out this evening. My name is Ben Rohr. I'm with a planning firm based out of Madison, and we've been working with the city of New London over the last 18 months to develop the draft zoning ordinance and map that we're reviewing with the public over the next month, including today's presentation and then a variety of online opportunities leading up to potential adoption here after the first of the year. So today I just wanted to cover a little bit on the background. How did we get here? What are some impacts in relationship to common scenarios that would interact with the zoning code? A couple of overview, big picture changes, and then an opportunity to ask questions and gather feedback. Now, if it's particularly about a specific property and you'd like to discuss that further, feel free to grab myself or Chad, the city administrator, or Dave, the building inspector, and we'll have an opportunity to have a more one-on-one conversation in that respect. So this document is over on the boards. This basically outlines how we got to this point in time. Like I mentioned, in the spring of 2024 is when we kicked off this project. There have been 10 plan commission meetings where we have discussed various different elements of the development of the code up to this point in time. And today is the public open house. There will be an opportunity, like I mentioned, online over the next month to review and ask questions and submit comments electronically. And then there will be a public hearing that you are welcome to attend on December 17th, or I believe, or no, December 18th. That will be in this room at 5:15. And then council adoption is planned for January. So if you're looking at the zoning code in New London, that document has been around for many, many decades. Zoning has been established here. The last major rewrite was several decades ago in 1994. That means a variety of amendments have taken place over time, and that results in a somewhat inconsistent and possibly contradictory in parts ordinance that's disorganized. So that being one of the key purposes of what we're trying to accomplish. In addition, the city adopted the comprehensive plan in 2023. This is your guide for the future of the next 20 years. And so from that perspective, the comprehensive plan specifically called out making some strategic amendments / doing a rewrite of the zoning ordinance to remedy some of the existing issues. So the purpose of what we were trying to accomplish with the zoning code is sort of boiled down into three major points. One being implementation of the comprehensive plan, modernizing the ordinance and its regulations, and then improving user friendliness, providing flexibility, but also providing predictability. So when you're looking at the ordinance and you're thinking of how could this potentially impact myself, there's a variety of scenarios that I've laid out. One being repair and maintenance. So this is just regular repair and maintenance of an existing structure. New construction on an existing developed property, something like an addition, new construction of a vacant property or full redevelopment, and then new parcel creation or modification. One thing I will note is that the new ordinance makes all lots and structures fully conforming. This means that continuous repair and maintenance is provided an opportunity through the ordinance. There's no longer the non-conforming conflict that could potentially get in the way of that. And so really, when you're looking at the zoning code, it's in respect to new construction and land use change that this document is going to come into effect when you're thinking about your property or any other property in the city. So normal repair and maintenance, like I mentioned, every existing property is fully legal. There are no impacts to existing development in respect to what's out there today. Reconstruction is permitted to occur matching the existing development of the property. So say a fire takes place and burns down a portion of a structure, that structure is permitted to be rebuilt and reconstructed in its existing form. It's truly that new construction scenario in which the zoning ordinance is going to come into play. Now, another more common scenario, I have an existing developed lot. I'm looking to do something on that lot. What then comes into play in respect to the zoning code? That would be potentially the land use and the setback and bulk dimensional standards. Depending on the type of project, it could be a variety of other things like parking, access, fencing, lighting, if those things are proposed to change. but I'm going to show you a common scenario. You're thinking about doing a detached garage in the back of your home, similar to what you see in those two properties right of the orange square. You want to do that in your backyard. Well, then what is going to come about in relationship to the zoning ordinance? That's where you get into play for setbacks and lot coverage, specifically for that type of development. So your existing house and that location that is unimpacted by the zoning ordinance, only those new construction scenarios are what we're talking about. And this is where you would be subject to the setbacks and the lot coverage if you were proposing to do something akin to a detached garage similar to this. Now, one thing we have tried to do throughout the code is create greater flexibility for these types of things to take place. Some of the standards within the existing code were constructed for much larger lot sizes with much larger setbacks. We've reduced those in a variety of elements or a variety of ways to try and enable greater flexibility, in particular on older, smaller lots like you see on the screen. The third scenario, new construction on either an undeveloped lot or redevelopment. This is where more standards of the zoning code are going to come into play. And this is where you would typically see a development or a developer leading the charge in relationship to a proposed plan for a piece of property. So again, you have the land use and the setbacks and the building dimensions, but you're also going to have performance standards coming into play like parking and access. If it's along a community commercial corridor, building design and landscaping may come into play in addition to signage. So if you're thinking of an example would be the industrial park on the northern end of the community. There's undeveloped parcels that are awaiting new construction. Business owner or developer X comes in, they want to do new construction on this site. That is where the majority of the zoning code standards are going to come into play in respect to a variety of different things that you see on the screen. Now, finally, a common scenario is I want to create a new parcel or change the parcel configuration. What is not regulated by the zoning code is the process related to changing parcel configurations that lives within the subdivision ordinance, but these two ordinances work together. So the zoning ordinance regulates the lot size, the lot width, and the frontage, which you'll see on the tables, the bulk dimensional tables that we have out there. So basically that regulates how that parcel could be configured, but the subdivision code regulates how that process takes place, which would come before the plan commission. You'd submit a certified survey map, for example, something like that. But these two ordinances work together hand in hand in respect to that type of process. So key changes in relationship to what we have today. As I had mentioned, the existing zoning ordinance is a bit of a mess in terms of organization. So a full reorganization took place. This included the integration of summary tables and example diagrams. So if you had a chance to look at the new code, hopefully there's a variety of examples there to help orient you to what you're looking to do. We also wanted to take this opportunity to bring the code into compliance with state and federal law. Those changes, there have been many since 1994. I'm assuming some of those amendments have taken place while others have not. This is our opportunity to make it compliant from all angles. And then one thing you'll notice is that there is more text in relationship to the zoning ordinance. And what we're aiming to do is improve predictability through the code. And that's establishing metric-based standards in a variety of ways so that you could meet the objective of what we're trying to do with the standard in a flexible kind of association of different formats or different ideas. So one example might be if a property is subject to the exterior building design standards, something like 50% of the exterior design can be this type of material choice. So you have the opportunity to configure that in a variety of ways, but we're still trying to see a high quality construction for that portion of the structure. I know this graphic aims to try and understand a little bit of the process associated with a common zoning situation. And so this is reflective of the organization of the code. So you would look at what zoning district you're in, what land use you're either looking to do or you have, and then in relationship to other areas of the code that may come into play, such as performance standards, exterior design, landscaping, signage, and procedures. So you would walk through the entirety of the process in relationship to what you were looking to do. Now, does everybody need to use every element of the code? No. For a lot of common scenarios, especially within residential, you're not going to need more than maybe one or two of these things. But for the more complex and complicated scenarios, we do need to have all of these standards in place and follow this procedural path. So the two main tables within the code itself are on the left, the land use table, and on the right, the bulk dimensional table. So I have those printed out in handout form up on the front here. Those are available online. These would be the two most frequent things that the average person would interact with the zoning code and have hopefully the majority of their questions answered and or be able to find the answer from these two summary tables. So it was our intent to really utilize this summary table format to help guide people as they're using the code. Additionally, some other things I wanted to mention in respect to zoning changes. We wanted to allow for a diversity of modern building types and formats that were not otherwise permitted within the code right now, including mixing of uses in a variety of different formats, whether it's in the building or on the site, providing different opportunities for different types of housing and greater flexibility and opportunity for existing residential properties, how they're configured and how they could potentially be utilized moving forward. And then we utilized or came up with an incremental approach to density, meaning that we still have single family and then a variety of mixed residential formats that are tiered by density. So the higher density district is that mixed use. It's called mixed residential high density. And that's where you would get the greatest flexibility in the amount of density that you could put on a given lot versus a single family where you'd have the least amount of flexibility in relationship to density. But utilizing the zoning map change process, that is an opportunity if you so chose as the property owner to request a scaled up intensity of density on the property that could be provided to you via the different zoning districts. We also, like I mentioned, integrated some exterior building design and landscaping standards. We modernized and grouped development standards together. So things like access, parking, fencing are all in one location, whereas in the existing code, they may be in 3 or 4 different locations. We also wanted to detail every procedural process, and this is not intended to be something that the average person would use. It is truly a mechanism for trying to create a consistent approach from the city administrative side in terms of what that process looks like and treating everybody fairly to create a consistent path for those choosing to develop within New London. Then we get to the zoning map. Within the zoning map, there is a brand new set of zoning districts utilized, and that is intentional. That is to separate what we have today from what we are doing moving forward and make sort of a clean break in respect to the name most frequently used. And so therefore, at least in name, every property in the community will be rezoned. However, what we aim to do was create a situation where we are utilizing a variety of different forms to get to what we have in terms of the draft zoning map. So that is including looking at the existing zoning pattern we have today on the ground, looking at the comprehensive plan future land use map, looking at existing conditions. And then what we did is a parcel by parcel review with staff to identify, are there existing conflicts with the existing zoning and what's on the ground today and or the comp plan? How could we remedy those situations? And we looked at each individual property to do so. And that's what we have today in terms of the draft zoning map, which is on my left right here. But really the overarching goal was to create a situation where existing uses continue to have a zoning district that matches what's on the ground today to enable that to continue moving forward. So just a couple of frequently asked questions. I do have a document that discusses a lot more of those on the table for you, but a couple of that come up quite frequently and that I've already heard a couple today. Why does the new zoning code look different? Like I had mentioned before, the existing code has morphed over time through a variety of amendments. This has created inconsistencies, conflicting standards, and the need for frequent interpretations. So what we are trying to do is orient it to be a step-by-step guide, but also create greater detail, which then comes with hopefully increase predictability and consistency of code application. Why does it look more complicated and complex? Well, that's a very similar answer in relationship to we are trying to standardize our standards within the code. So again, trying to create some flexibility, but create parameters in which that flexibility takes place. But we're also trying to create a more user-friendly document with summary tables, graphics, and procedural steps that adds length to the document in respect to just straight text. And so it's a trade-off in respect to those two elements and what you get in length on the back end of the code itself. And then finally, why are there so many zoning districts? What we aim to do was consolidate some of the existing zoning districts that were redundant. We also needed to create some new zoning districts to handle specific situations. And one of those specific situations is in respect to conditional use permits. The state law changed for conditional use permits in 2017. And what that state law said is basically, if the standards are met within the code, then you need to approve the conditional use. You have less opportunity as the local authority to say yes or no, we're going to consider this on a case-by-case basis. Well, what that means is that we need to take a different approach. And what we did is created more by right permitted land uses in a lot of zoning districts, but we also created situations where certain land uses that may be a conditional use may now require a zoning map amendment, because that gives the city an opportunity to say yes or no and have a discussion about it, versus just a conditional use scenario where if they meet the standards, it's essentially a rubber stamp at this point in time. So we're not intentionally trying to make the process more complicated. What we're trying to do is work within the parameters of state law to give you all the opportunity to weigh and discuss different options that may come about in the future, but also the opportunity for property owners to request a zoning change and go through the process to enable that land use to take place. So it's trying to strike a balance in respect to that element of things. So next steps, if you haven't had an opportunity to view the boards or the handouts, please feel free to take any of those handouts, write on the boards if you'd like. If you have any questions, talk to myself or city staff. We'd be happy to do so. All of these materials plus more, basically everything we've done up to this point in terms of the process, is available online. You can watch any of the YouTube videos, recordings of how we got to this point, and you're welcome to provide comments online as well. The QR code is on the screen. The public hearing, like I mentioned, is the next opportunity to engage beyond this evening or online over the next month, and that will be on December 18th in this room. Want to appreciate and thank you all for coming out. I know zoning isn't the most exciting thing in the world, but we do thank you and we do appreciate the engagement. If there's a broad question that I can help answer right now, I'd love to do so. If it's more of a in the weeds sort of specific question, take on a one-on-one basis, I think that would be probably the appropriate approach. But does anyone have a big picture question for me right now? Okay. Well, I appreciate it. We'll be around for the next hour to answer any questions. Thank you for coming.